Berlin, May 1945. The city is a corpse. It lies rotting under a gray sky. 75 million cubic meters of rubble. That is the official estimate. It covers the streets like a shroud. The smell is not something you breathe. It is something you taste. Wet ash, pulverized brick dust, shattered sewage pipes, and sweet decomposing flesh. It coats the back of the throat. It sticks to the lining of the lungs. But inside the banquet hall, the air is different. It is artificial. It is a lie. The location is a commandeered palace, likely a former Prussian estate. The windows are boarded up with plywood, but the chandeliers are intact. Crystal, Austrian glass. They catch the light of 100 candles. Electricity is sporadic in Sector C. The flickering yellow light creates shadows. Long dancing shadows on the walls. They look like ghosts. Maybe they are. The room is packed, shoulder to shoulder. Wool uniforms rub against each other. Olive drab of the United States Army. Dark green of the Soviet Red Army. The friction creates a low static hum. The temperature is rising. Body heat, alcohol, tension. The sensory overload is immediate. It assaults the nose first. Cheap French perfume, looted from the boutiques of Paris, splashed generously onto unwashed collars. It mixes with the sour, biting reek of sweat. Old sweat, fear sweat, the sweat of men who have spent 4 years killing. And underneath it, all the smell of food. Black beluga caviar, mounds of it, sitting in silver bowls, shiny, oily, smelling of the deep ocean and salt. It sits next to crates of American Spam. The irony is physical. Luxury and survival, side by side. The noise is a weapon. It is not loud. It is sharp. The clinking of crystal glasses. Ping, ping, ping. It sounds like shrapnel hitting a tin roof. Laughter erupts and bursts. It is too loud, too jagged. It is the laughter of survivors. Manic, desperate. They are trying to drown out the silence outside. The silence of the dead city. At the head table, the hierarchy is visible. Generals, marshals, the architects of the slaughter. On one side, the Soviets. On the other, the Americans. They smile. They shake hands. They slap backs. But look at the eyes. The eyes do not smile. The eyes measure. They calculate. Range, distance, kill zones. A chair scrapes against the parquet floor. Wood grinding on wood. The sound cuts through the chatter. A Soviet general stands up. He is a mountain of a man. Broad shoulders, thick neck. His uniform is a tapestry of violence. The Order of Lenin, the gold star of the hero of the Soviet Union. The Order of the Red Banner. Heavy brass medals. They pull the fabric of his tunic tight across his chest. He holds a glass. Vodka. Clear. Potent. He taps a spoon against the side of the glass. Ting, ting. The room freezes. The chatter dies. Heads turn. 500 pairs of eyes lock onto him. He smiles. It is a wide, expansive smile. It reveals teeth capped in gold, or perhaps stainless steel. They glint in the candlelight. He raises the glass high. The liquid catches the light. It looks like kerosene. He speaks. Russian, guttural, deep. It resonates in the chest cavity. To the future, the interpreter translates. The interpreter is a young major. His voice trembles slightly. To the bond between our great nations. To the peace we have built with blood. To the new world order. The words hang in the air, heavy, suffocating. New world order. The general beams. He looks around the room. expecting submission, expecting agreement. The room moves as one, a wave of olive and green. Chairs slide back. Boots shuffle. 500 men rise. They raise their glasses. To the future? Someone shouts. To peace? Another echoes. The glasses tilt. Liquids are consumed. The burn of alcohol replaces the taste of ash. It is a moment of unity, or so it seems. But there is a gap in the formation. A void. One chair does not move. One man does not rise. General George S. Patton, Jr. He sits at the main table. He is a statue carved from granite. He is wearing his Ike jacket. Immaculate. Not a speck of dust. The brass buttons are polished to a mirror shine. On his collar, the 4 stars of a general. Silver. Cold. But the eyes are drawn lower. To his waist, the leather belt. Thick. Rigid. And the holster. It holds a Colt. 45 single-action Army. Model 1873, the Peacemaker. The grip is not wood. It is not rubber. It is ivory. White, stark. A journalist once called them pearl. Patton corrected him. Only a pimp in a cheap New Orleans whorehouse would carry a pearl-handled pistol. These are ivory. Bone. The weapon of a gunslinger, it sits there. A threat. A promise. Patton stares at the Soviet general. He does not blink. His eyes are pale blue, like the ice on the river Elba. He holds his glass of whiskey, bourbon, Old Crow. He holds it on the table. His fingers are wrapped around the crystal, but he does not lift it. The Soviet general notices. The smile falters. Just for a millisecond. The gold teeth disappear behind thin lips. The interpreter notices too. He swallows hard. His Adam's apple bobs. The room begins to notice. The silence spreads like a contagion. It starts at the head table. It flows outward. To the colonels, to the majors, to the captains. The clinking stops. The chewing stops. The breathing seems to stop. The only sound is the wind outside. Whistling through the broken windows, it sounds like a dead soul trying to get in. The Soviet general lowers his glass slightly. He speaks again, directly to Patton. The tone is jovial, but the eyes are hard. Flint. General Patton, the interpreter says, you do not drink to the future of the world. It is a challenge, public, undeniable. Patton moves, slowly, deliberately. He leans forward. The leather of his belt creaks. Crook. It is the loudest sound in the room. He looks at the Soviet general. He looks at the medals. He looks at the gold teeth. He looks at the vodka. He sees the map of Europe. He sees the red ink spreading west. He sees the gulags. He sees the Iron Curtain descending. He does not see an ally. He sees a predator, a wolf in a green tunic. Patton lifts his glass, just an inch. The room exhales. They think he will comply. They think he will play the game. Diplomacy, politics, the art of lying. Patton speaks. His voice is high-pitched, squeaky almost. It contradicts the brute force of his legend. But the diction is perfect. Every syllable is a bullet. I will not drink with you. He pauses. The interpreter freezes. His mouth opens, but no sound comes out. The Soviet general furrows his brow. He leans in, waiting for the translation. Patton does not wait. He continues. I will not drink with you. Patton repeats. He turns the glass in his hand. The amber liquid swirls. Or any other Russian son of a bitch. The words hit the table like a hammer. Total. Absolute. Silence. This is not a diplomatic incident. This is an act of war. The interpreter turns pale. He looks at the Soviet general. He looks at Patton. He looks at the floor. He whispers the translation. Russian words. Sharp. Hissing. The Soviet general stiffens. The blood rushes to his face, turning it a deep, violent crimson. The gold teeth grind together. Eisenhower, sitting 3 seats away, turns purple. His knuckles turn white on the tablecloth. He closes his eyes, praying for the floor to open up. But Patton does not blink. He sets the glass back down. Click. He keeps his hand on it. Then his hand moves. It slides from the glass. It rests on his thigh, 2 inches from the ivory handle of the Colt 45. The message is clear. The war is over. But the fight has just begun. February 1945. The Eifel Mountains, Western Germany. 3 months before the banquet. The world is not dead yet. It is dying, but it is fighting the inevitable. Winter is losing its grip. The snow is melting. It turns the earth into a substance that defies chemistry. Mud. Rasputitsa, the Russians call it. Here the GIs just call it glue. It sucks the boots off feet. It swallows truck tires. It freezes at night and thaws at dawn. A cycle of misery. General George S. Patton stands next to his command vehicle, a Dodge WC-57 command car. Modified. Air horns mounted on the fender, armor plating added to the floor. The engine block is ticking, cooling down in the damp air. The hood is flat. It serves as a desk. Spread across the olive drab steel is a map. Scale 1, $250,000. The paper is creased, stained with coffee rings and tobacco ash. Patton leans over it. His posture is predatory. He does not look like a general studying a schematic. He looks like a wolf staring at an exposed throat. He holds a grease pencil, red wax. He presses it onto the paper. The wax crumbles under the pressure. He draws a line, a vector. It starts at the Prüm River. It slashes east. It crosses the Rhine. It ignores the fortified cities. It bypasses the strong points. It ends at a single word printed in bold Gothic letters. Berlin. Patton stares at the word. It is not just a city. It is the heart of the beast. It is the finish line. He calculates the variables. The Third Army is a machine. 500,000 men, 12,000 vehicles, a kinetic force that physics cannot explain. They are moving fast, faster than doctrine allows, faster than supply lines can stretch. They are eating territory, 20 miles a day, 30. The Germans are reeling. The Wehrmacht backbone is snapped. Patton knows it. He can smell the collapse. It smells like unburied bodies and abandoned equipment. "We can be there in 10 days, he whispers. The wind carries the words away. 10 days, maybe 12. He looks at his wrist. A Patek Philippe watch. He checks the time. He checks the mileage. He does the math. Fuel. That is the only variable that matters. The M4 Sherman tank, specifically the M4A3. Ford GAA V8 engine, 500 horsepower. It drinks gasoline like water, 1.2 miles per gallon, on a good road. In this mud, 0.5 miles per gallon. A thirst that cannot be quenched. The field telephone rings. It sits on the back seat of the Dodge, a heavy Bakelite brick, EE8 model. The ring is mechanical, jarring. Patton does not flinch. He knows who it is. He knows what it is. He picks up the handset. The cord is twisted. "Patton," he barks. There is static on the line. Then a voice. Clear. Calm. Too calm. It is Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force, SHAF. It is the voice of bureaucracy, the voice of compromise. "George," the voice says. It might be Bradley. It might be Bedell Smith. It doesn't matter. They are all mouthpieces for the same decision. "Halt." The word hangs on the wire. Patton grips the handset. His leather gloves creak. "Halt," he asks. The tone is dangerous. "We are open. The Krauts are running. I can cross the Rhine before they blow the bridges." "Halt," the voice repeats. "Logistics, George. We are stretching too thin." "Bullshit," Patton snaps. "It's not logistics. It's politics." "Ike has made a decision," the voice continues. "The main effort goes north, to Monty. Montgomery, Field Marshal Bernard Law Montgomery, the British commander, cautious, slow, methodical. Patton hates him, not as a man, but as an antithesis to war. Monty wants the supplies. Monty wants the glory. "You are diverting my fuel," Patton says. "It is not a question. Priority supply goes to the 21st Army Group. You are to hold position. Consolidate." Patton slams the phone down. It misses the cradle. It hits the steel floorboard. Clatter. He looks back at the map. The red line to Berlin looks like a wound now. He looks at the convoy passing by on the road. A column of Shermans. The 4th Armored Division. The spearhead. They are moving. Tracks churning the mud. Squeak, clank, roar. The exhaust pipes belch blue smoke. The smell of 80-octane gasoline fills the valley. It is the smell of velocity. Then, it happens. The lead tank. Thunderbolt, a 76-meter gun variant. The engine note changes. It sputters. Cough. It sounds like a dying animal. The driver revs the engine, trying to clear the line. Vroom. Put. Silence. The 30-ton beast coasts to a stop. Momentum carries it a few feet. Then friction takes over. It stops dead. The tank behind it brakes. Tracks lock, slide. The entire column grinds to a halt, one by one. Engines die. The silence returns to the Eifel Mountains. It is sudden. It is deafening. Patton walks over to the lead tank. His boots sink into the slush. He ignores the cold. He ignores the mud splashing on his breeches. He reaches the hull. The metal is hot, radiating heat from the fighting compartment. He hits the glacis plate with his fist. Thud. Solid steel, useless steel. Without gas, it is just a pillbox, a coffin. A sergeant pops his head out of the driver's hatch. His face is covered in grease, goggles around his neck. "Sorry, General," the sergeant says. "She's dry. Gauge is on E." "Jerry cans," Patton asks. "Empty, sir. We used the reserves yesterday." Patton looks down the line. Miles of armor. Stationary. Vulnerable. Sitting ducks for the Luftwaffe. If the Luftwaffe still existed. He looks east, toward the gray horizon, toward Berlin. He knows what is happening. While his tanks sit here cooling down, another army is moving. From the east, the Red Army. Marshals Zhukov and Konev. They have fuel. They have momentum. They have no concept of halt. They are rolling over Poland. They are rolling toward the Oder River. They are coming for the prize. Patton feels a physical pain in his chest. It is not a heart attack. It is rage. Pure. Distilled. He takes off his helmet. The liner is wet with sweat despite the cold. He wipes his forehead with a gloved hand. He looks at his hand. The leather is stained, not with blood, but with rust from the tank hull. It looks like dried blood. They are giving it to them, he mutters. He is not talking to the sergeant. He is talking to history. They are handing them Europe on a silver platter. He understands the geometry of the map better than the politicians. If the Russians take Berlin, they will not leave. They will stay. They will build walls. They will export their misery. The halt order is not just a tactical pause. It is a geopolitical suicide pact. Patton turns back to his Dodge. He walks with a limp, an old polo injury. Or maybe the weight of the future is pressing down on his spine. He grabs the map. He rips it off the hood. The paper tears. Right across the city of Berlin. He balls it up. He throws it into the mud. He stares at the crumpled paper, slowly absorbing the dirty water. The red line dissolves. The dream dissolves. God help us, he whispers. We have defeated the wrong enemy. The engine of the command car ticks. Tick, tick. Counting down the seconds. The silence of the tanks is louder than the shelling ever was. It is the sound of an opportunity lost forever. April 1945. A village near the Oder River, 40 miles east of Berlin. The exact location does not matter. Geography has lost its meaning here. There is only the front and the rear. The front is a moving wall of fire. The rear is a graveyard. This village sits in the shadow of the wall. It is waiting to be consumed, beneath the ruins of a bakery. In a coal cellar. Darkness is absolute. It presses against the eyes. It has weight. The air is cold, damp. It smells of carbon, of ancient dust, of potatoes that have rotted into black slime. Hilda sits in the corner. She is 18 years old. She should be thinking about university, or marriage, or the spring harvest. Instead, she is thinking about the thickness of the cellar door. Oak, 2 inches, reinforced with iron bands. Is it enough? She knows the answer. Physics is cruel. Nothing is enough against a 76 centimeters high explosive shell. Nothing is enough against a determined man with a rifle butt. She pulls her knees to her chest. She wears a dress that was once blue. Now it is gray, stained with grease, torn at the hem. She has rubbed coal dust into her skin. Her face is black, her neck is black, her hands are black. It is a disguise, a desperate camouflage. She is trying to erase her gender. She is trying to erase her humanity. She wants to be a shadow, a lump of coal, anything but a woman. The stories have traveled faster than the tanks. Stories from Nemmersdorf, from East Prussia. Whispers that turn the blood to ice. They say the Red Army does not just conquer. It punishes. It takes payment in flesh. For every village burned in Russia, for every frozen corpse in Stalingrad, they are coming to collect the debt. And the currency is women. Hilda holds an object in her hands. Her fingers are white at the knuckles, contrasting with the soot. It is a crucifix. Wood. Rough-hewn. It is broken. The crossbeam is snapped on the right side. Christ has lost an arm. She rubs her thumb over the fracture. Splinters dig into her skin. She does not feel the pain. Pain is a luxury. She prays, but no words come out. Only a rhythmic breathing. In, out, in, out. Trying to quiet the heart that hammers against her ribs. Thump, 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 thump. It sounds loud in the silence. Too loud. Can they hear it from the street? Paranoia sets in. The mind begins to eat itself in the dark, above her head. The ground begins to speak. It starts as a vibration, subtle, like a train passing miles away. Dust trickles from the ceiling. It lands in her hair. It lands on her eyelashes. The vibration grows. It travels down the brick walls, into her spine. It is not the erratic thud of artillery that stopped an hour ago. The silence that followed was worse. The artillery is the storm. The silence is the flood. Now comes the sound of movement, mechanical movement, engines, diesels, hundreds of them. A low-frequency growl that churns the stomach. Hilda listens. Her father was a mechanic. Before he died in Kursk, he taught her the sounds of machines. She listens for the American sound. The M4 Sherman, the rhythmic clatter of rubber-padded tracks. Clack, clack, clack. A sound that promises cigarettes, chocolate, maybe a tribunal, but not the end of the world. She strains her ears, begging the universe for that sound. But the universe is deaf. The sound she hears is different. It is higher-pitched, sharper, metal on metal, unlubricated steel pins grinding against steel links. Screech, grind, squeal. It sounds like a banshee screaming. It sounds like a saw cutting through bone. The T-34, the Stalin tank. The blood drains from her face beneath the soot. Her stomach drops. A void opens up inside her. The Americans are not here. Patton is not here. The West has stopped. The East has arrived. The noise becomes a physical assault. The cellar door rattles in its frame. The glass jar on the shelf walks to the edge, falls, shatters, crash. Hilda flinches. She bites her lip. She tastes copper, blood. She squeezes the broken crucifix, harder, hoping for a miracle, hoping for the floor to open up and swallow her. Above, the screeching stops, idling engines, a heavy thud, boots hitting the cobblestones. Many boots, voices, not English, Slavic, harsh consonants, shouting orders, laughing. The laughter is the worst part. It implies confidence. It implies ownership. They are not fighting anymore. They are hunting. Footsteps approach the ruin. They crunch on the broken glass. Heavy, deliberate. They stop directly above the trapdoor. Hilda stops breathing. She holds the air in her lungs, burning. A shadow blocks the sliver of light coming through the cracks in the floorboards. Dust motes dance in the shaft of light. Then darkness. Someone is standing there. A hand grasps the iron ring of the door. Rust grinds. Groan. The hinges scream, ancient metal protesting against the intrusion. The door lifts. Gravity loses the battle. Daylight floods in. It is blinding. Hilda squeezes her eyes shut. The light hurts. It exposes her. It strips away the safety of the dark. She opens her eyes, slowly, adjusting to the glare. A silhouette stands in the rectangle of light, backlit by the gray sky. A figure, boxy, thick coat, helmet, a submachine gun slung across the chest. The PP-41, with the drum magazine. The silhouette leans down. It blocks the sun. Hilda presses herself into the stones, trying to merge with the wall, trying to become invisible. The figure descends the first step. The wood creaks under the weight. Then the second step. A smell enters the cellar. It is not the smell of coal. It is the smell of unwashed wool. Mahorca tobacco. Strong, pungent, and oil. Gun oil. The soldier reaches the bottom. He stands there. His eyes adjust to the gloom. He scans the room. Left, right. He sees the coal pile. He sees the broken shelves. He sees the corner. He sees the eyes. White eyes and a black face. Hilda trembles. Violently, like a leaf in a gale. She holds up the crucifix. A shield made of wood. A pathetic defense against a conqueror. The soldier steps forward. He is young, maybe 20. But his face is old, weathered by the steps, scarred by the winter. He looks at her. He looks at the soot. He knows what it is. He has seen it in 100 villages before. A desperate trick. He does not smile. He reaches out a hand, thick fingers, calloused, dirt under the nails. Hilda shrinks back. A whimpering sound escapes her throat. Involuntary, primal. The hand moves closer. It touches her cheek. Rough skin against soft skin. He rubs his thumb across her cheekbone, smearing the coal dust, revealing the pale skin underneath. White, clean, undeniable. The disguise fails. The illusion shatters. He looks at his thumb, black with soot. Then he looks at her. His eyes are flat, like a shark's eyes. There is no pity. There is no anger, only function. He unslings the rifle. He leans it against the wall. The metal clinks against the stone. He says one word, Russian. She does not understand the language, but she understands the tone. It is an order. It is a sentence. Come, he says. German, broken. Come. He points to the stairs, to the light, to the world outside where the trucks are waiting, where the screams are already starting. Hilda looks at the crucifix. She looks at the soldier. She looks at the stairs. The stairs lead up, but for her they lead down, into the abyss. She drops the cross. It hits the floor. Clatter. It lies in the dust, abandoned. God has left this cellar. God stopped at the Rhine. She stands up. Her legs are numb. She walks toward the stairs, toward the silhouette, toward the end of her life as she knows it. The soldier follows. The cellar is empty again, silent, except for the distant rhythmic squeaking of the tanks. Moving west, always west, grinding the world beneath their tracks. April 25th, 1945. The River Elbe, near Torgau, Saxony. The geography of the world is about to change, not on a map, but in the blood. The river cuts through the German landscape, 150 yards wide. The water is gray, opaque. It moves sluggishly, swollen with the spring thaw, and the debris of a dying nation. A wooden chair floats by, a child's doll, face down, a Wehrmacht officer's cap. The current carries them north, toward the sea, toward oblivion. On the west bank, the United States Army, the 69th Infantry Division, V Corps, the Fighting 69th. They are dug in, foxholes lined with ponchos, machine gun nests camouflaged with branches, Browning M1919A4s, barrels cold, belts loaded, every fifth round a tracer, red tips. The men are silent. They do not smoke. The glow of a cigarette is a target. They do not speak. Whispers carry over water. Physics amplifies sound over a flat liquid surface. Lieutenant Albert Kotzebue lowers his binoculars. His eyes are red-rimmed. Fatigue is a drug. He is hallucinating. Or maybe he is seeing the truth. On the east bank, the tree line is dark. Shadows move, not the wind. Shapes. Human shapes. But they do not move like Germans. Germans move with rigid discipline, even in retreat. These shapes move like water. Fluid. Unpredictable. The silence is heavy. It has mass. It presses against the eardrums. It is not the absence of noise. It is the compression of anticipation. The birds have stopped singing. They know. Nature retreats when predators meet. The only sound is the river. Lap, lap, lap. Water hitting the muddy bank. It sounds like a tongue licking a wound. And the wind, it rustles the dry reeds. Shh. Like a librarian quieting a room. But this library is filled with killers. Thousands of them, waiting for the signal. Green star shell friends, red star shell enemy. No star shell chaos. Patton arrives at a forward observation post. He does not announce himself. No sirens, no flags. He is a ghost in a jeep. He steps out, his boots sink into the soft loam. He walks to the edge of the embankment. He raises his Zeiss 7X50s. German glass, superior optics. He focuses the lenses. The image sharpens. He sweeps the east bank. He sees them. The vanguard of the Soviet 58th Guards Rifle Division. First Ukrainian Front. They are emerging from the woods. They do not look like an army. They look like a migration. A medieval horde equipped with modern combustion engines. Patton studies the machines. The T-34 to 85s. Rough cast turrets, weld lines thick and sloppy, like scars. But effective. The 85mm guns are pointed at the sky, not at the Americans. A gesture of peace or a tactical reload, Patton looks closer. He looks at the logistics. The American tanks behind him are mules. M4 Shermans, strapped with crates of K rations, jerry cans of water, bedrolls, spare track links, mailbags. It is an army supported by Detroit and Chicago, an army that brings its home with it. The Russian tanks are different. They carry no food. They carry no mail. They carry plunder. He focuses on a Soviet tank commander, a junior lieutenant, sitting on the turret of a T-34. The man is young, Asiatic features, high cheekbones. He wears a padded tanker's helmet, greasy canvas, but it is his arms that catch the light. Patton zooms in. The magnification reveals the detail. The lieutenant's sleeves are rolled up, revealing the forearms. They are covered, from wrist to elbow. Metal, gold, silver, leather straps, watches. Dozens of them. Wrist watches, pocket watches tied with string. A shimmering armor of stolen time. Patek Philippe, Long and Sony. Cheap drugstore brands. Heirlooms stripped from dead German officers. Trinkets ripped from the wrists of refugees. The Soviet soldier raises his arm to wipe his brow. The sun catches the metal. A flash of gold. Patton lowers the binoculars. He feels a cold knot in his stomach. It is not fear. It is revulsion and a terrible clarity. The American soldier fights for a ticket home. He fights for the GI Bill, for a Chevrolet in the driveway, for a girl named Betty or Sue. The Soviet soldier fights for revenge and for things, shiny things. He is a locust. He consumes what is in his path. Patton looks at the line of Russian troops. They are not liberated. They are unleashed. There is no supply chain behind them. They eat off the land. They eat the land. The silence on the river breaks, not with a gunshot, but with a shout. Amerikansky? A voice from the east bank. Hoarse, then a flare goes up. Green. It hangs in the gray sky, burning magnesium. A star of hope, or a false star. The American side responds. Green. 2 stars falling. The tension snaps. Men stand up, cautiously. Rifles are lowered. But fingers remain on trigger guards. Muscle memory is hard to break. A boat is pushed into the water, a small skiff. Oars cut the surface. Splash, splash. The rhythm of diplomacy. Patton watches the boat. He does not smile. He does not cheer. He hears something else. Beneath the cheering that is starting to ripple through the ranks, beneath the engine noise, he hears the watches. On the arms of the Russians, thousands of them, millions of them across the Eastern Front. Tick, 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 not in unison, a chaotic cacophony of gears and springs. Counting down. They have stolen the time of the dead. But they are measuring the time of the living. He looks at the Soviet lieutenant again. The man is laughing now. He waves a bottle of vodka. The watches on his arm shake. Jingle. Like shackles. Patton turns to his aide. Major Stiller. Look at them, Al. Patton whispers. His voice is flat. We are shaking hands with the bear. But we forgot to trim his claws. The wind picks up. It blows from the east. It carries the smell of the Soviet column. Unrefined diesel, cabbage, and something metallic. Old blood. Patton checks his own watch. A single simple timepiece. It marks the hour. 1300 hours. The war with Germany is technically over. The shooting has stopped. But the silence is deceptive. It is the silence of a fuse burning down. The river flows between them, Elbe. It is no longer a river. It is a border, an iron curtain, falling, right now, before the first treaty is signed. Patton turns his back on the celebration. He walks back to the jeep. The mud sucks at his boots, trying to hold him back. Squelch, squelch. He climbs in. "Driver," he says, "get me out of here before I start shooting." The engine roars to life. It drowns out the ticking. But Patton knows. The clock is still running, and it is ticking for him. May 1945. A displaced persons camp. Southern Germany. The location is a grid coordinate on a map. But on the ground, it is a festering wound. The war is officially over. The guns are silent. But peace has not arrived. Only bureaucracy and chaos. General Patton steps out of his jeep. He is not wearing his dress uniform today. He is wearing a B-3 bomber jacket, sheepskin, leather. It is warm, too warm for the season. But he feels a chill that the sun cannot touch. He does not carry his riding crop. He carries a handkerchief, pressed against his nose. It is soaked in vanilla extract, a trick learned from the medics in World War I, to mask the scent of gangrene. But it does not work here. The smell of this place defeats chemistry. It is a biological weapon. It is composed of unwashed bodies, dysentery, typhus, and fear. Fresh fear, stale fear. It hangs in the air like smog. He walks through the gate. There is no sign that says Arbeit macht frei. That was the old regime. Now there is a wooden sign, hastily painted. Restricted area, off limits. The wire is still there. Barbed wire, galvanized steel, sharp, rusty. It glints in the sunlight. It hums in the wind. The wire does not care who erected it. It only knows one function: separation. Inside the ground is mud. Black, oily mud, churned by thousands of feet. Feet wrapped in rags. Feet wrapped in newspaper. Feet that are bare, blue with cold, ulcerated. Patton walks. He does not march. His stride is heavy. He looks at the liberated. They do not look like victors. They do not look like humans. They are shapes, skeletons draped in gray wool. The stripes of the concentration camp uniforms are still visible. Faded, filthy. They stand by the wire. They sit in the mud. They lean against the wooden barracks. They watch him. Their eyes are not the eyes of men who have been saved. They are the eyes of men who are waiting for the next blow. Deep sockets. Black circles. The sclera is yellow, jaundiced. The pupils are pinpricks. They stare, unblinking. They do not cheer. There are no flowers. There are no kisses. Only a silence that screams. Patton stops near a water tanker. A crowd is gathered. They are fighting for the tap. Not with fists. They are too weak for fists. They fight with weight, leaning, pushing, shoving with bony shoulders. A woman falls. She hits the mud. Splat. No one helps her. The crowd closes over her, like water closing over a stone. Survival is a zero-sum game. If she drinks, I do not. Patton watches. His jaw muscles tighten. He sees a military policeman, an American MP. White helmet, white gaiters, clean, fed. The MP raises a baton. Get back, he shouts. Back in line, he strikes a man on the arm. The whack, the sound of wood hitting bone. The man recoils. He does not cry out. He just steps back, submissive, conditioned. He is used to being hit. The uniform of the hitter has changed, olive drab instead of field gray. The language has changed, English instead of German. But the baton feels the same. Patton approaches the wire. A group of men stands there. Poles, maybe Ukrainians. They grip the barbs. Their hands are bleeding. They do not seem to notice. Patton looks at one of them. A man with a shaved head. Stubble is growing back, gray and patchy. "Why are you still here?" Patton asks. He does not shout. He asks genuinely. The gate is open. The man looks at Patton. He looks at the stars on the general's shoulders. He points a shaking finger, not at the gate, but to the east. "Even," the man whispers. The word is barely audible. "Even come." Even is coming. The fear in the man's voice is not the fear of the past. It is the fear of the future. He knows geography. He knows that this camp of this patch of mud is in the Soviet zone of occupation. The lines have been drawn on a map in Yalta by men who smoke cigars and drink brandy. Roosevelt, Churchill, Stalin. They drew a line, and these men are on the wrong side of it. Patton understands. The realization hits him like a physical blow, a punch to the solar plexus. He looks around the camp. He sees the watchtowers, still standing, empty of SS guards, but soon to be filled by NKVD, by the Red Army. He sees the barracks, wooden rows, designed to hold cattle. They are still holding cattle. The Nazis are gone. The swastika has been torn down, but the machinery remains. The infrastructure of oppression. It is waiting for new management. The jailers have changed, but the prison remains. The uniform is different. The ideology is different, but the result is the same. Human beings behind wire, waiting to die, waiting to be transported to Siberia, to the Gulag. He walks further, to the edge of the camp, where the mass graves were. Bulldozers have done their work. The earth is mounded, raw, lime has been spread, white powder. It mixes with the black mud. It looks like snow, but it smells of chemical decomposition, the smell of new corpses. Not the victims of the gas chambers, but the victims of the liberation. Dysentery, malnutrition, suicide. Men who survived Auschwitz only to die of overeating American K rations, or men who cut their wrists when they heard the Russians were taking over the sector. Patton looks at the mound. He takes the handkerchief away from his face. He forces himself to breathe the air, to taste the failure. "We defeated the Germans," he says to no one. His voice is rough, like gravel. "And we saved the world for the Bolsheviks." He kicks a stone. It skitters across the mud. It hits a boot, a dead boot, sticking out of the earth. The leather is cracked. The sole is worn through. It belonged to someone. Someone who thought the war ended in May. For them it did. For the rest, the nightmare is just entering its second act. An aide approaches. "General, the photographers are here. They want a picture of you with the liberated prisoners." Smiling. Patton turns. His face is a mask of fury. His eyes are cold fire. "Smiling," he repeats. He looks at the MP hitting the refugees with a baton. He looks at the man gripping the wire, terrified of the East. He looks at the white lime on the black mud. "Get them out of here," Patton growls, "before I shoot them." There's nothing to smile about. We haven't liberated a goddamn thing. We just changed the guards. He turns back to the wire. He grips a fence post. He squeezes it until his gloves stretch tight. He looks east, toward the horizon. The sky is darkening. Storm clouds or smoke, it doesn't matter. Darkness is coming. He feels it in his bones. The war of bullets is over. The war of shadows has begun. And here, in this camp, in the middle of victory, he sees the first casualties, the ones who traded a brown shirt for a red star, and never saw the sun. The vanilla on his handkerchief has faded. Now there is only the smell of betrayal. It is the strongest smell on earth. May 8, 1945, Regensburg, 3rd Army Headquarters. The room is a converted library in a requisitioned estate. The shelves are empty. The books have been looted, burned for warmth by the retreating SS, or taken as souvenirs by the advancing Americans. General Patton sits at a heavy oak desk. It is the only furniture left. A single lamp casts a yellow circle of light. It illuminates his hands. They are trembling, not from fear, not from age, from a frequency of vibration that starts in the marrow. Rage. Pure, unadulterated rage. He holds a fountain pen. Black body, gold nib. He presses it onto the paper of his diary. The ink flows, blue-black. It looks like venous blood. He writes. The scratch of the nib is loud. Scritch, scratch. It sounds like a scalpel cutting dry skin. He does not write about tactics. He does not write about supply lines. He writes about the future. He writes about the species that has just arrived in Europe. The 1945 barbarian, he writes. He presses harder. The nib spreads. The paper tears. We have destroyed what could have been a good race, he continues, referring to the Germans. And we are about to replace them with Mongolian savages. He looks at the words. Mongolians. He does not mean it geographically. He means it spiritually. He means the horde. Genghis Khan with a T-34. Subutai with a machine gun. He sees the map of Europe changing. Civilization retreating. Steppe law advancing. He slams the diary shut. Thud. The sound echoes in the empty room. It sounds like a coffin lid closing. Cut to Berlin. Sector 4. The Tiergarten district. Night. The city is burning. Not with the fierce orange fire of the air raids, but with the smoldering sullen glow of the aftermath. The grinder has shifted gears. It is no longer grinding stone and steel. It is grinding flesh. The Red Army is celebrating. Victory Day. But there is no joy in this celebration. Only release. The release of a spring compressed for 4 years. Compressed by starvation, by freezing winters, by the sight of burning Russian villages. Now the spring uncoils, and it strikes whatever is in range. On the street corner, a bonfire burns, fed with furniture, a Biedermeier chair, a grand piano leg, paintings. Soldiers dance around it. They are drunk. Industrial alcohol, stolen schnapps, medical ethanol filtered through gas mask charcoal. It does not matter, as long as it burns the throat, as long as it erases the memory. A bottle of vodka is smashed against a wall. Crash. The liquid sprays. It catches the firelight. It looks like crystal shrapnel. A sergeant sits on a pile of rubble. He plays an accordion. The notes are wheezing. Off key, a manic polka. He laughs. His mouth is a black hole. He fires his PPSH-41 into the air. Bert. 71 rounds in 3 seconds. The tracers streak up. Green lines trying to kill the moon. The barrel glows red. He drops the gun. He picks up a bottle. Down the alley, in the shadows where the firelight does not reach. The grinder is at work. A woman screams. It is a high, thin sound, like a wire being stretched until it snaps. Then it stops, abruptly, cut off by physics. A rifle butt, Mosint Nagant, steel-shod wood. It strikes the zygomatic arch, the cheekbone. Crack. The sound of a dry branch breaking in winter. The structure of the face collapses. Pain floods the nervous system. Shock follows. The scream becomes a gurgle. Fluid fills the airway. Blood. Teeth. A group of soldiers stands around a doorway. They are queuing. It looks like a bread line. But they are not waiting for bread. They are waiting for a turn. Inside the apartment. The furniture is overturned. Feathers from a ripped mattress float in the air, like snow, suspended in the stagnant air. On the floor, a girl, maybe 20, maybe 15. Age has no meaning here. Only biology matters. She does not fight. Fighting is over. Her eyes are open, fixed on the ceiling, on a crack in the plaster. She's counting the cracks. 1, 2, 3. Dissociation. The mind leaves the body. It floats up, away from the weight, away from the smell of unwashed wool and alcohol, away from the pain that tears at her pelvis. She becomes an object, a vessel for their rage, a receptacle for their victory. A soldier finishes. He stands up. He buckles his belt, leather creaking. He does not look at her. He looks at his watch. He winds it. Click, click. He walks out. Next, he says in Russian. The next man enters. He steps over a broken picture frame. A family portrait. Father, mother, children, smiling, from a different century. His boot crushes the glass. Crunch. He does not look down. He looks at the girl. He sees a spoil of war. He sees payment. The grinder does not stop. It churns. It processes. It turns humanity into meat. Patton, 400 miles away, pours a whiskey. He walks to the window. He looks east. He cannot see the girl. He cannot hear the accordion. But he knows. He feels it. The vibration of the collapse. They are raping Europe, he whispers to the glass. And we are holding the lantern. He takes a drink. The bourbon burns. But it cannot burn away the image in his mind. The image of a continent turning dark. Street by street. House by house. Body by body. The grinder works through the night. It does not need sleep. It only needs fuel. And tonight, Berlin is an endless supply. Berlin, the banquet hall. The timeline snaps back. We are back in the moment of the refusal. The silence is no longer empty. It is vibrating, like a violin string pulled to the breaking point. The interpreter stands between the two giants. He is a major. He is 25 years old. He has survived Stalingrad. He has survived the Silo Heights. But he might not survive this conversation. Sweat beads on his upper lip. It tastes salty. He leans toward the Soviet general. He whispers the translation. He tries to soften the blow. He tries to cushion the impact of Patton's words. But there is no way to soften a rock. He says, he will not drink. The Soviet general does not blink. His face undergoes a geological shift. The smile vanishes. The gold teeth disappear behind thin, cruel lips. The joviality evaporates, replaced by the cold calculation of the steps. He slowly lowers his glass of vodka. He places it on the white tablecloth. Thump. A heavy, deliberate sound. Liquid sloshes over the rim. It stains the linen, a dark, wet circle, spreading like a bullet wound. He looks up at Patton. His eyes are dark tunnels. You refuse. The general asks. The interpreter translates. You refuse to drink to the peace. You refuse to drink to the Red Army. Patton does not answer immediately. He pushes his chair back. Scrape. Wood screams against parquet. The sound causes 3 waiters to flinch. Patton stands up. He unfolds his frame, 6 feet 2 inches. In the polished cavalry boots, he is taller. He towers over the seated Russian. He casts a long shadow across the table. The shadow falls on the vodka glass. He adjusts his jacket. The Ike jacket, cut short at the waist. It is a deliberate fashion choice. It exposes the belt. It exposes the holster. The Colt .45 Peacemaker. The ivory handle catches the light of the chandelier. It glows. White. Ghostly. It is at eye level with the Soviet general. A silent threat. A reminder that the cowboy is not dead. He is just wearing a different uniform. Eisenhower, seated down the table, stops breathing. His face begins to change color. First red, then a deep bruised purple. He grips his napkin, knuckles white. He knows what is coming. He has spent 3 years managing Patton, holding back the pit bull. But the leash has snapped. Patton looks down at the Russian. He looks at the medals. He looks at the face of the man who burned half of Europe to claim the other half. He smiles. But it is not a smile of friendship. It is the smile of a wolf who has cornered a bear. Tell him, Patton says to the interpreter. His voice is calm, deadly calm. Tell him I will drink with him. The room exhales. Shoulders drop. A collective release of tension. Eisenhower closes his eyes. Thank God. It was a bluff. Just a moment of theater. The Soviet general relaxes. He reaches for his glass again. He thinks he has won. He thinks the American has blinked. But Patton is not finished. He raises a finger. One manicured finger. I will drink with him. Patton continues. He pauses. For effect. For the kill. When he and every other Russian son of a bitch. The interpreter freezes. The air leaves the room again, sucked out by the vacuum of the insult. Is on the other side of the Elbe. When you get the hell out of Europe. The sentence hangs there, suspended in time. It is not a diplomatic statement. It is a declaration of intent. It is the first shot of World War III, fired without a bullet. The interpreter turns pale, translucent. He cannot translate this. If he says these words, he will be shot. If he does not, he will be shot. He looks at Patton, begging with his eyes. Patton does not care. He stares at the Russian general. Telepathy of hatred. The Russian understands. He does not need the words. He hears the tone. He sees the eyes. He sees the pistol. He stands up. Violently, his chair falls backward. Crash. It hits the floor. He slams his fist on the table. The plates jump. Silverware rattles. Knee it, he screams. Spittle flies from his mouth. He points a finger at Patton. A thick, calloused finger. Fascist. The word echoes off the gilded ceiling. You are no ally. You are an enemy. Eisenhower stands up. George, he barks. Sit down. That is an order. Patton ignores him. He ignores the Supreme Commander. He ignores the protocol. He picks up his glass of bourbon. He holds it up, not to the Russian, but to the empty space above his head. I drink to the American soldier, Patton says, and only the American soldier. He drains the glass. In one swallow, he slams it down. Crack. The crystal shatters. Shards of glass fly across the table. They glitter like diamonds. He turns on his heel, a military pivot. Precision. He walks away. His boots hammer the floor. Clack, clack, clack. He does not look back. He leaves the banquet. He leaves the alliance. He walks out of the palace, into the night, into the ruins of Berlin. Behind him, the room is in chaos. Shouting, accusations. The facade of unity is broken, shattered like the glass on the table. The Cold War has begun, and George S. Patton fired the starting gun from a banquet table with a glass of Old Crow whiskey. October 1945. Bad Nauheim, Germany. The fall has arrived. Not just the season, but the career. The leaves are turning brown. They rot on the cobblestones. Slick, treacherous, just like the political landscape. The attack does not come from a tank. It comes from a typewriter. Remington, Underwood, Smith Corona, thousands of them. In New York, in Washington, in London, the keys strike the ribbon. Clack, clack, clack. They sound like machine guns, but they are more lethal. They do not kill the body. They kill the reputation. Ink marks the paper, black on white. Headlines scream. Patton the danger. Old blood and guts soft on Nazis. The madman of Europe. The quotes are taken out of context, twisted, magnified. He said the Nazi Party was like a political party, like the Republicans, like the Democrats. He meant functionality. The press heard ideology. They smelled blood, and they swarmed. Piranhas in ink-stained suits. General Dwight D. Eisenhower sits in his office in Frankfurt. He holds a newspaper, the Stars and Stripes. He reads the editorial. He sighs. It is a heavy, weary sound. He likes George. He needs George. But peace does not need George. Peace needs diplomats. Peace needs silence. Patton is noise. Patton is a grenade with the pin pulled, sitting on a conference table. Eisenhower picks up a pen. He signs an order. It is a transfer. It looks like a promotion. It is a funeral. Alk relieved of command, the paper says. 3rd Army. Transferred to the 15th Army. The 15th Army. It sounds impressive. It is a lie. It is not an army. It has no tanks. It has no artillery. It has no soldiers. It is a paper army. Its mission is to write the history of the war, to categorize files, to organize index cards, to interview captured German officers about tactics that are already obsolete. It is a library, and Patton is the librarian, the man who raced across France, the man who relieved Bastogne, the man who pissed in the Rhine, now commands a platoon of clerks and a battalion of filing cabinets. The transfer ceremony is brief. Bad Tolz, the headquarters of the 3rd Army. It is raining. Of course it is raining. The sky weeps gray tears. Patton stands on the podium. He holds the guidon, the flag of the 3rd Army, the big A inside the circle. He hands it over to General Lucien Truscott. His hands shake, just once, a spasm of the nerves. Then he lets go. The fabric slides through his leather gloves. It feels like skin peeling off. He steps back. He salutes. The band plays Auld Lang Syne. The notes are brassy, hollow. The men of the 3rd Army stand in formation. They are crying. Grown men. Killers. Tears mix with the rain on their cheeks. They know. The soul of the army is leaving. The fire is going out. Leaving only cold ash. Patton walks to his car. He does not look back. He gets in. The door closes. Thump. It shuts out the rain. It shuts out the world. Drive, he says. The car moves. Away from the tanks, away from the glory. Toward the desk. Bad Nauheim. The new headquarters. It is a hotel. The Hotel Grand. It smells of dust and floor wax and stagnation. Patton enters his office. It is large. Too large. It echoes. There is a desk, mahogany, polished. There is a stack of paper. Reports. Analysis of logistics in the Lorraine campaign. German defensive tactics in the Ardennes. Paper. Dead trees. Covered in dead words. Patton sits down. The chair creaks. He picks up a report. He reads a sentence. He puts it down. He cannot breathe. The air in the room is thin. It lacks oxygen. It lacks adrenaline. He stands up. He walks to the window. He looks out. He sees a street. A tram passes by. Ding. Civilians walking with umbrellas. Life returning to normal. He hates it. Normalcy is a prison. He starts to pace. The room is 20 feet long. He walks the length. Turn, walk back, turn. He is a tiger. A Bengal tiger in a Victorian cage. His energy is nuclear. It has nowhere to go. It radiates off him in waves. Heat, tension. He strikes his leg with his riding crop. Slap, slap, slap. A metronomes of frustration. He looks at the map on the wall. It is a map of the past. The lines are drawn. The battles are over. There are no new arrows to draw, no new cities to take. The map mocks him. It says finished. It says obsolete. He looks at the clock. A grandfather clock in the corner. The pendulum swings. Tick, tock. Tick, tock. It is the loudest sound in the universe. It measures the waste. Every second that passes is a second he is not fighting. Every minute is a minute of atrophy. His muscles are tense, ready to spring. But there is no prey, only shadows. He talks to himself. They think I am dangerous, he mutters. They are right. I am the only one who sees the fire. And they took my water bucket. He kicks a wastebasket. It flies across the room. It hits the wall. Clatter. Papers spill out. Useless memos. Bureaucratic vomit. He stares at the mess. He does not clean it up. He resumes pacing. Thud, thud, thud. Heavy cavalry boots on parquet. Back and forth, writing a tragedy with his feet. The phone rings. He stares at it. He hopes it is a mistake. He hopes it is the Russians attacking. He hopes it is a crisis. He picks it up. Patton. General, the weekly supply report is ready for your signature. A clerk, a voice of paper. Patton closes his eyes. He feels a scream building in his throat. A primal scream. But he swallows it. It burns like acid going down. Bring it in, he says. His voice is dead. Flat. He hangs up. He sits back down at the mahogany desk. He picks up the pen, the weapon of the bureaucrat. He looks at his hand, the hand that held the ivory pistol, the hand that pointed the way to Bastogne. Now it holds a Parker fountain pen to sign a supply report for an army that does not exist. The collapse is total. The warrior is dead. Only the man remains, and the man is suffocating. Slowly, in a room full of air, December 9th, 1945, Route 38, near Mannheim, Germany. It is Sunday, a day of rest. But the sky does not rest. It is low, lead gray, hanging over the Autobahn like a wet wool blanket. The road is slick, mist mixed with oil. A black sedan moves down the highway. A 1938 Cadillac Model 75. 4 tons of Detroit steel. It is a limousine, but it feels like a hearse. Inside, the heater hums. Warm air circulates. Smelling of old leather and stale tobacco, General Patton sits in the back seat. On the right, the seat of command. Beside him, Major General Hobart Gay, his chief of staff. In the front, Private First Class Horace Woodring, the driver. He is 20 years old. He drives fast. He knows the general likes speed. Patton is relaxed. For the first time in months, he is going pheasant hunting. A shotgun rests on the floorboards. Winchester Model 21, double barrel, oiled, ready. He looks out the window. The landscape rolls by. Scarred earth, bomb craters filled with brown water, rusted skeletons of vehicles. He points a gloved hand. "Look at that," he says. "A graveyard of tanks. What a waste." He's not talking about the metal. He's talking about the history. He is talking about himself. The car slows down. A railroad crossing. The tracks are cold iron strips cutting the asphalt. The Cadillac glides over them. Woodring accelerates again, 30 miles per hour. Not fast, just cruising. Up ahead, a truck appears. GMC COV.W, 2.5 ton. Deuce and a half. Olive drab, mud splattered. It is driven by Technical Sergeant Robert Thompson. He is hauling wood. He is not thinking about history. He is thinking about the quartermaster depot. He signals a turn, left, across the path of the Cadillac. He does not see the 4 stars on the bumper. He does not see the black limousine blending into the gray road. He turns the wheel. The truck lurches, blocking the lane. A wall of green steel. Woodring sees it. The pupils dilate. Adrenaline dumps. He slams the brake pedal, hard, to the floor. The wheels lock. Rubber screams against wet asphalt. A long tearing sound. Physics takes over. Momentum equals mass times velocity. The Cadillac is heavy. It does not stop. It slides. A controlled skid. Into the inevitable. Patton is not looking at the road. He is looking at a pheasant in the field. He is relaxed. His muscles are loose. He does not brace for impact. The collision is not spectacular. It is not Hollywood. There is no fireball. There is no explosion. Just a dull, sickening crunch. Steel folding over steel. Glass shattering. The Cadillac hits the truck's fuel tank. The car stops instantly. 0 velocity. Inside the cabin, Newton's first law applies. An object in motion stays in motion. Woodring hits the steering wheel. Bruised ribs. General Gay slides forward, stopped by the front seat. Bruised shins. But Patton is a projectile. He flies forward, unrestrained. His head dips. He travels 3 feet. He strikes the glass partition separating the driver from the passengers. The partition is thick, beveled glass. His forehead hits the steel frame. Crack. It is a small sound, like a dry twig snapping under a boot. But it is the sound of a giant falling. He falls back into the seat. He lands awkwardly, like a marionette with cut strings. His cap slides over his eyes. Blood trickles down his nose. Dark red, thick. Silence returns to Route 38. The engine hisses, steam escaping from the radiator. General Gay shakes his head. He sits up. "Are you hurt, General?" he asks. He expects a curse. He expects Patton to roar, to jump out, to pistol whip the truck driver. But there is no roar. There is only a whisper. "I think I am paralyzed." The words hang in the cold air, heavier than the Cadillac. I can't feel my legs. I can't move my hands. Gay looks down. Patton's hands are resting on his lap, lifeless, pale crabs on blue wool. "Rub them," Patton says. "Rub my fingers." Gay rubs them, vigorously, trying to push life back into the nerves. "I can't feel it," Patton says. His voice is calm, strangely calm, like a man reporting a situation report. "My neck is broken," The ambulance arrives. Sirens wailing. They load him onto a stretcher. He is heavy, dead weight. They drive to the 130th Station Hospital. Heidelberg, the city of philosophy, now the city of tragedy. Doctors swarm, x-rays are taken. Black and white film, revealing the truth. The spinal column, the C3 vertebra, the C4 vertebra, fractured, dislocated. The spinal cord is crushed. Severed communication between the brain and the body. The general is trapped. His mind is a Ferrari engine. His body is a junkyard wreck. They place him in a bed. Room 110. White walls, high ceiling. They drill into his skull. Fish hooks, zygomatic arches, traction. Weights hang from pulleys. Pulling his neck straight, he lies there. Staring up, he cannot turn his head. He can only see the plaster above him, a white expanse, like the snow in the Ardennes. But without the enemy. The days pass. December 10th, December 15th, December 18th. The room smells of antiseptic, ether, and dying flowers. Bouquets arrive from all over the world. From Eisenhower, from Truman, from the King of England. They fill the room. A garden for a living corpse. Patton hates them. They smell like a funeral. He talks to his wife, Beatrice. She sits by his side, reading to him history books, the Gallic Wars, Napoleon. He listens, but his mind wanders. He feels his body failing, not from the injury, but from the inactivity. Embolisms form in his lungs, blood clots, silent killers, floating through his veins, waiting to block the breath. He whispers to the doctor, "This is a hell of a way to die." He wanted a bullet, the last bullet of the last battle. He wanted to go out like a Roman candle, burning bright. Instead, he is fading, like a light bulb with a broken filament, flickering, dimming. He looks at his hands. They are strapped to the bed, useless. The hands that held the ivory pistols. The hands that slapped a soldier in Sicily. The hands that pointed to Berlin. Now they cannot even wipe a tear from his eye. He closes his eyes. He hears the sound of the hospital. Rubber soles on linoleum. Squeak, squeak. The rattle of a medicine cart. Clink, clink. The distant hum of a generator. It is the sound of bureaucracy keeping him alive. He remembers the sound of the battlefield. The roar of the long toms. The scream of the diving Stuka. The crunch of tank tracks on bone. Those were honest sounds. Clean sounds. This silence is dirty. It is suffocating. December 20th, 1945. The fluid fills his lungs. He struggles to breathe. Rattle. The death rattle. It is a mechanical failure. The pump stops. The oxygen cuts off. The brain starves. The light in the room does not change. But the light in his eyes goes out. The wolf is dead. The trap was not a tiger tank. It was not a hidden mine. It was a Sunday drive. It was a random, chaotic, meaningless accident. Fate playing a cruel joke. The nurse pulls the sheet up. White cotton, over the face, over the nose that smelled the cordite, over the mouth that cursed the Russians. The room is silent, except for the clock on the wall. Tick, tock, tick, tock. It keeps counting, indifferent to the legend that just expired. The general is gone. The paperwork remains. Berlin. 16 years after the banquet. 16 years after the glass shattered. The prophecy is no longer a warning. It is a construction project. August 13th, Sunday morning. The sound of the city is not traffic. It is not church bells. It is the sound of jackhammers. Pneumatic drills biting into asphalt. Rat-a-tat. A mechanical stutter. Soldiers in green uniforms stand guard. Not American, not British, East German, the Volkspolizei. They hold PPSH-41 submachine guns, the same guns that cleared the cellars in 1945. Now they are pointed at civilians. They unroll coils of wire, barbed wire, razor wire. It glistens in the summer sun like silver snakes. Concrete blocks are lowered by cranes. Thud, one by one, stacking up, blocking the view, blocking the sun, blocking the future. The Iron Curtain has finally become literal. It is 12 feet high. It is capped with a sewage pipe so hands cannot grip the top. It divides a street. It divides a family. A mother on one side, a son on the other. They wave handkerchiefs, white flags of surrender. But the wall does not care. The wall is geology. Man-made geology. Patton is dead, buried in Ham, Luxembourg, under a white cross, no different from the thousands of men he led. But his ghost walks the perimeter of Sector C. He stands at Checkpoint Charlie, invisible. He watches the American tanks face the Soviet tanks. M48 Pattons versus T-55s. Barrels leveled, engines idling. The distance between them is 100 yards. The distance between peace and the apocalypse is a trigger pull. The world holds its breath. Again, children in New York learn to hide under wooden desks. Duck and cover. A pathetic ritual, as if plywood can stop a thermonuclear shockwave. Geiger counters click in government basements. The air tastes of iodine and fear. This is the peace that was bought in 1945. This is the New World Order the Soviet general toasted to. Patton saw it. He saw it through the bottom of a whiskey glass. He screamed it until his throat was raw. They are Mongols. They will not stop. We must kick them back to the Volga. We called him mad. We called him a warmonger. We fired him. We silenced the alarm because the noise was annoying. And now we live in the silence of the fallout shelter. West Point, New York, the West Point Museum. The air is conditioned, cool, dry, filtered to preserve history. It smells of floor wax and old fabric. Tourists walk through the halls. They wear sneakers. They eat pretzels. They look at the uniforms behind glass. They stop at a display case. Inside a belt, heavy leather, and a pistol. The Colt 45. Single Action Army. Serial number 3321288. The barrel is worn. The bluing is faded near the muzzle. Friction from the holster. But the handle. The ivory handle. It is yellowing slightly with age, like an old tooth. On the grip there are notches, carved by a knife. 2 deep notches, for the 2 Mexican bandits he killed in 1916, before the tanks, before the fame, when war was still a duel. A young boy presses his face against the glass. He leaves a smudge of grease. He looks at the gun. He does not see the weapon. He sees a toy. He sees a cowboy movie. He does not feel the weight. 2 pounds 8 ounces. Loaded. He does not know the recoil. The way it twists the wrist. He turns to his father. Was he a hero, Dad? The father looks at the gun. He looks at the ivory. He hesitates. The history books are conflicted. They call him brilliant. They call him cruel. They call him a bigot. They call him a savior. He was a soldier, the father says. It is the only safe answer. But the gun knows the truth. In the silence of the museum, the object speaks. It remembers the heat of the Tunisian desert. It remembers the snow of the Bulge. It remembers the handshake refused in Berlin. It sits there, a dormant volcano, a relic of a time when men led from the front, when generals died in jeep accidents, not in nursing homes. The scene shifts, back to the mind, back to the theater of the mind. Imagine the banquet hall one last time. The candles are burnt down, the wax has dripped onto the table. The food is cold, the guests have left. The room is empty, except for the ghosts. Patton stands there, in the shadows. He lights a cigar, a Havana. The tip glows red, like the eye of a demon. He exhales, blue smoke curls up. He looks at you, the listener, the jury. He does not ask for forgiveness. He does not ask for pity. He asks for a verdict. Look at the map of the 20th century. Trace the red lines, the Berlin blockade, the Korean War, the Cuban Missile Crisis, the Vietnam War, Afghanistan. 50 years of proxy wars. 50 years of containment. Millions of lives lost in the margins. Bleeding out in rice paddies and mountain passes. Because we didn't finish the job in 1945. Because we wanted to go home. Because we were tired. Patton wasn't tired. He was ready. He had the Third Army. He had the momentum. He had the atomic bomb in his pocket, metaphorically, soon literally. He said, "Give me 10 days. Give me the gas. And I will make sure your grandchildren don't have to learn Russian." The smoke from his cigar dissipates. The image fades. But the question remains. It hangs in the air like the smell of cordite. It is uncomfortable. It is dangerous. It challenges the narrative of the good war. Was George S. Patton a dangerous lunatic who almost started World War III? Or was he the only sane man in an asylum of politicians, the only man who understood that you cannot negotiate with a tiger when your head is in its mouth? The museum lights dim. The guard locks the door. Click. Darkness falls over the ivory pistol. But in the dark, if you listen closely, past the silence of the history books, past the noise of the modern world, you can still hear it. The faint, rhythmic sound of a riding crop hitting a leather boot. Slap, slap, slap. And a voice, high-pitched, demanding, echoing from the grave. "I told you so. You magnificent bastards. I told you so."